Hello there. In this video I'm going to show you how you can get started with developing a Flask web server in Python. So let's get started. In order for you to come and use this Flask module, you need to install it because it doesn't come by default with Python. So in order to install it, you need to issue the following command: python -m pip is the pip installer module, and you specify the install keyword, and after that you say you want to install Flask. It is going to go out, collect the appropriate files, and after that you can start developing your application. What you need to do is create a folder which will hold all the resource files that are needed for this application. So first of all, you will need a Python file which will take care of running your application. So what you need to do is create this file. I will save it as flaskdemo.py, and in this file I'm going to import from the Flask module the Flask class and the render template function. We are going to need to create, if you want to run it not as a part of a module but directly as a script, an if condition which says that if the file's name is called main, it should perform the following actions. It should create an app. It should call the app.run function, in which we specify the host, which is going to be 000 in this case. We could specify the debug equals true, and we're going to need to use the port keyword, which is going to be set to 8080, and that's basically all. We go up here and say that we want our app to be instantiated from the Flask class, and we are going to define a default context root, which is the app.root and the /, and when that context root is hit, we will call the index function and return just a simple string: yay, the server is up and running. Let's save it and try to run it. If you did everything right, we should see that the web server spins up, and check it in a browser. We replace the 000 with localhost, and yes, we can see that because we specified the default context root as the /, it returns us the string yay, the server is running. Okay, but what else can we do with this server? We can specify it to return not a string but an HTML page or whatever resource we want to return. If we want to build a larger site, let's say, we need to add more folders, and one of the folders is the templates, the other is the static. In the templates folder, you would put a file called index.html, save it, and in the Flask demo, we would remove this part and say that we call the render template function and say that it should render the index.html. And in the index.html, we could create some very basic HTML page. Let's say it should return a header with this string in it. We close the header and yay, I come from the index.html, and in the moment we save this, and save the Flask demo, it should pick up that something has changed, namely the Flask demo.py, and it will restart the process. And after that, if we say we want to reload this page, and if it's working, yeah, yay, I came from the index.html. Okay, the Flask uses the so-called Jinja template framework, and this Jinja template framework allows us to, let's say, build more sophisticated sites. I will show you what I mean by this. So in the templates, if we create a beause.html and we fill it with the following section, we say we want a doc type HTML tag, we want to start HTML body, we create a close section for this, we want to specify a head, we want to close the head, and we want to specify a body, and we would also want to specify a body, close the body, and what we want to do is start using this templating system, and there is a keyword called block, and we can name the block as blockhead. We need to make sure that we put these between percentage marks, and if we want to close the block, we want to say this, we want to write this end block stuff. We also want to make sure that we create this for the body, and we want to rename it as the block body. We save it, and we want to do other stuffs with it. So after this, we need to rewrite our index.html, and we will say that this index.html extends our beause.html, and we want to extend our beause.html at the block head and the block body. So what happens if I say that we want to have a header on every one of our pages? We could simply specify, let this be a smaller header. This header goes on to every page. Let's save it. Save the index.html. Save the Flask.demo, and let's reload our web page. Let's see what happened to the server. It says that the head block was defined twice, and this was the problem. So basically we get these error messages because in the flagsdemo.py we specify the debug equals true keyword, which ensures that when an error occurs either in the Jinja template or in the Python file, we get notified in a, let's say, pretty decent way. It told us that there was a template assertion error and pointed us to the head block and said that it was defined twice. Okay, let's reload it. And it's working. So after this, what happens if we have specified a tag here? Let's say it's h4, and I say that this header comes from the head block. Let's save it and reload the page. But where is our block? It was supposed to be specified here and here too. If we want to, let's say, inherit this template or block, we would call this super function, which is super cool because after I save this and reload the page, that block gets inherited. So I'm not sure if you get the idea, but basically if you have a site which has a, let's say, very specific structure in the looks, then you could specify it in the base template, and after this base template is defined, all you have to do is inherit it to the subpages here. So let's create another context root of our application. We would say that we want this root to be called the other, and we would like to return another template which is called the other.html. Let's save it. Let's create the template. In this template, I say that we don't inherit from the base template, but we create our own template for this. H2, and this comes from the other HTML file and not inherited. Let's close this tag, save it, the auth.html, and let's save the script. says that there is an unexpected indent here. Yeah, because I forgot the function definition. Okay. Let's run it again. After it starts up, we could navigate to the other Ole. And we can see that this is what comes from the other HTML and not from the base HTML. If you want, you can specify multiple keys and values for the specific route. And what I mean by that is that we could say that we want to pass an argument to this route. This is a key and this is a value. If we define this and save it, we could say that key and value, and it says that it got an unexpected keyword argument. We need to make sure that we specify these as arguments to our functions. I will make them both none. Equals none. And reload it. Cool. And we can see that the index.html page is rendered. What we could do with this is that we could return them in the index.html file. So arguments equal key. Let's say we give it an array, which is the key and the value. We save it, and we could say that we want them rendered in the body. And what we would do is refer to this argument which is passed to the render template function and say that if the argument is defined, don't forget to put this between percentage marks and close the endif tag. Then what we would like to do is iterate through that array, and we can do it this way. For item in arguments, we should make sure not to forget to close this for loop and for, and we could say that we want to render level 4 header tags with the value of those items. The value of the item is and item. Let's save it. And reload the page. Yay! So it got our keyword arguments in the URL, it processed it and rendered the template and iterated through those elements. So what if we want to say that we want to make sure that only specific HTTP requests can reach that context route? We could specify that the methods equal get, post, or put. We want to make sure that only GET requests reach this context root, then we leave it that way, and ta-da, it's still working. What if we say that we would like to ensure that our application is using HTTPS? So what we need to do is generate a certificate for our site, and we are going to have a cert and a key. In order to generate these certificates, we need to have the OpenSSL installed, so we can generate self-signed certificates. And these certificates will be generated now on my Debian virtual machine. But if we want to generate a self-signed certificate, we can do it. How should we do it? We can do this with this command, OpenSSL rec new key, which is going to be an RSA key with 2048 bits. We are going to specify the key out, which is the Flask demo.key. We are going to say that it's an X508 certificate with the validity of 365 days, and the CRT file is going to be the Flask demo.crt. And I'm going to create this PAN password. Verified. The country name is Hungary. Hajdu Bihar. Debrecen. I don't want to specify an organization or a unit. Common name Flask demo.python anywhere.com. Email address is secret, and there you go. If we check it, we should see two certificates. The first one is the Flask demo.crt. I mean one certificate, sorry. And the other is the key. So one is the public certificate and one is the key certificate, which helps you identify if the public certificate is valid. And if we want to use it in our Flask application, we should create a new folder, which is going to be called SSL. And we should create the Flask demo.crt and the Flask demo.key. And let's copy these. So in the key file, we will have this key file, and the CRT file is this. Okay. So in order to use it, we need to modify a little bit our Python script. and make sure that this certificate is used when we start running our web server. So hold on for a minute or two. We should first specify the path of this certificate, which is the OS path join function. The folder's name is SSL, and the certificate's name is Flask demo.crt, and Flask demo.key. And if we are ready with this, all we need to do is specify the context, which is going to be ssl.ssl context, and the protocol we want to use is TLS v1, _2, and we want to load the certificates. The CRT and the key. If we did this, all we have to specify now is the SSL context, which is going to be equal to our context, if I'm not mistaken. And let's save it. Oh, I forgot to import the OS module. This is needed to navigate to the certificate file. Okay, let's run it. Silly mistake. So we don't want to call the join function for the path, but we want to call the join function for the OS separator. So if I want to show you quickly, we could print the OS sep, which is going to help you to write, let's say, platform independent scripts, because if you use this function call, it will change if you are on Linux system, Unix system, or Windows system. You know where the slash leans. Okay, let's get back to the topic and run it. It is asking for our passphrase, and if the passphrase I have specified is correct, it will start the server. And now you can see that we can reach the server via HTTPS. So if we do this, this is currently on HTTP. We don't reach it, but if we do this with HTTPS, it should say that the browser doesn't trust the certificate because it's self-signed. It means that the certificate was not signed by an authority which is publicly accepted. But basically this is how you encrypt your traffic to your Flask application, which is kind of nice if you want to have a site with a login form and want to protect the username or password they send. So basically this was what I wanted to show you. Next time we will get deeper into the Flask topic. Hope you liked it, and if you did, subscribe and leave a like. Thank you for watching.